Honkai Star Rail is a brand new game from Hoyoverse, the creators of award-winning game Genshin Impact. Having released just yesterday, I'm bringing you guys the most on-time Bronya guide with on-time information and things that you should know now that Honkai Star Rail has finally released. Just now, on time. Like in other Hoyoverse games, Bronya is the devs' favorite, seeing as she's incredibly strong and important to the story, which is unlike her adoptive mom Cocolia, who has died in every single Hoyo game. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I think someone else is gonna suffer the same fate. Today I'm going over Bronya and everything you need to know about her, from what she does to how to build her. If you like these types of videos, let YouTube know the video doesn't suck by liking down below, and consider subscribing for more cringe content. My name is Braxophone, and let's talk about Bronya. Bronya is, in my opinion, the strongest buffer in the game for hypercarry teams, due to her ability to top deck a character's turn. If HSR was a card game, Bronya would let you draw every piece of Exodia. Bronya is a support character who focuses on buffing her allies so that they can hit harder, better, faster, and stronger. I was gonna make a joke about this, I didn't really know what to do. And makes her a good fit with almost any DPS unit you want to use. Smash Bronya and your DPS together like action figures when you were a little kid, or make them kiss or whatever. I don't really care. Her basic attack, Wind Rider Bullet, shows her American spirit. It does damage. When you unlock a trace called Command, she decides to aim for headshots. For those of you who didn't play Halo, Bullet Head do more damage than Bullet Chest.
That's a lot of damage!
Whenever she uses her basic attack, she also triggers her talent, which advances her action forward. Now this is only really helpful in specific situations, but most of the time you're just going to be using it for skill points. But now for the really good stuff. Her skill is what I was talking about earlier. It drags an ally of your choice up the turn queue to act next, and what that does is allow your DPS to attack immediately and deal more overall damage, because more attacks is more damage. But not only that, she gives the character she moves forward a massive damage buff. So not only do their more attacks deal more damage, but their more attacks deal more damage, deal more damage. And then because they're attacking more, they're getting more energy, meaning their more attacks deal more damage, gain more energy, deal more attacks, deal more damage. It's really not that complicated. Bronya is like a toolbox that can be used to pull anyone forward in a pinch as well, like your healer if you're about to get RNG to death by this stupid fucking buff. Oh, and she also cleanses allies she brings forward. So if your character gets delayed, it just doesn't really matter. And if you try to bring herself forward, then you unlock the secret cutscene that shows a reaction to you not having Seela on the team. Her ultimate is also very strong, buffing the attack of all of her allies, as well as increasing their crit damage based off of Bronya's crit damage, plus a little extra as a treat. Now, to be completely honest, the crit damage buff conversion isn't super crazy, but at high investment, it can get big enough to tell all your friends that you found the Critorus. Bronya also has two traces that are blanket buffs, one increasing the defense of your allies for 2 turns when the battle starts, and one increasing the damage of your allies. Bronya's technique makes it so that all allies get an attack buff whenever they enter combat, so basically you're always going to want to use that before bosses. Fantilia may be an emanator of destruction, but with Bronya on your team, Fantilia is a bunch of children, and your DPS is an Australian Prime Minister. Actually, wait a second. First, can we take a second to just appreciate the HSR character designs, not you? Like, look how good Kafka and Lukaku look. Dang, actually, a lot of the Star Rail characters have amazing outfits. Well, Kayla's, is that from Pop Killer? For those of you who don't know, Pop Killer is a Japanese-inspired pop culture apparel store located in Little Tokyo, Los Angeles. They have a wide selection of different clothing and styles, featuring artists from all over the world. That's how you get your grandpa to look as fly as this guy. Pop Killer works directly with artists from all over the world, including locations like Spain, Germany, France, the US, Japan, and local artists in LA as well. Look how sick Don Hung and Stell look in these Pop Killer shirts. And check out Rule on May, sheesh! Popkiller.us is their online shop that ships anywhere in the world. So even if you're lost at sea in the middle of the ocean, you can still look fly as hell. If you order online using my code BRAX15, you'll get 15% off your entire order if you spend over $40 at checkout.
This opportunity is quite hard to come by.
Make sure to click the link in the description or pinned comment to check out Popkiller's shop, and you too can be as dripped out as my wife. So after all of that, I'm sure you can understand why Bronya is so dang busted. But next up, I want to explain how you can take full advantage of her. Now, the main reason I released this on-time Bronya guide, on time, is because I wanted to make sure it released after we knew most things about the game and had sufficient knowledge of Bronya. Basically, I speed-tuned this guide. Bronya's build can be really simple if you want it to be. The easiest thing to do for Bronya is to give her 4-piece messenger and call it a day, with her planar stats being Broken Keel, Fleet of the Ageless, or Penacony with a wind DPS. That build is going to be fine for most content, but my goal with this video is to teach you the more complex stuff, since it's honestly not that hard to do. Also, I'm all out of funny haha for this guide, so I'm gonna be super serious for the rest of it. I'm putting on my serious face right now. I'm very serious. There's two ways to play E0 Bronya. The first being the Sonic build. Basically, you'd play her as fast as possible and alternate skill and basic attack usage as necessary to make her not eat as many skill points. If you get Bronya to 165 speed, or 161 in pure fiction for optimal 4 cycles, you can theoretically go SP neutral with her, assuming no delays or anything like that. So, for those of you in dev mode who are able to infinitely create relics with the best possible stats, that's gonna be a solid option for you. And I'm really, really happy for you. The other way to play Bronya at E0 is to speed tune her to your main damage dealer. Maybe you've seen this speed chart, or maybe you haven't, I don't really know. But basically, it shows you what speed you need to get a specific amount of actions in a specific amount of cycles. This is why you hear people say get your DPS to 134 speed. But let's say you're playing Bronya. You'll likely want to get your DPS to at least 135 speed instead, because you want to make sure Bronya goes after your DPS, so that way you can attack with your DPS, then Bronya skill, and then get another attack from your DPS right after. By putting Bronya at 134 and your DPS a bit ahead of that, you can make sure that you get extra attacks, which also results in more energy and more overall damage. Now, one caveat to this is that using 4-piece messenger in this setup can offset the speed tuning. So I'd actually recommend not running the full 4 pieces unless you know that your DPS has a higher base speed than Bronya and will stay ahead of her. And even then, sometimes that's pretty iffy. Now, if you use this build, you may also struggle with skill points. So something that you can do is basic attack with your DPS before you Bronya skill, giving you an extra skill point. And then you use that skill point with the Bronya skill, and then use your DPS skill, so that way it's only -1 skill point overall instead of -3. Because that is going to be more damage than using your DPS skill and then using Bronya basic attack and not getting a second DPS skill. The other thing you can do is make your SP positive supports quicker than the Flash. Now that you have a degree in speed tuning, here's how to build Bronya. If you don't care about speed tuning or just want a fast Bronya for skill points, build 4-piece messenger Bronya with her planar sets being Broken Kill for crit damage, Fleet of the Ageless for team attack, or Panic Coney for wind damage on your wind DPS units. Aim for 165 speed. If you want to speed tune your Bronya, I recommend only going with 2 pieces of messenger unless you know what you're doing, and just aiming to have Bronya be 1 to 5 speed behind your main damage dealer. But ideally she can still be at least 134 speed. The rest can go into pieces with crit damage. For main stats, you'll want a crit damage body, speed boots, any orb, and an energy regen rope. Bronya can add some okay damage, so wind damage orb is alright, but personally, I prefer to use the orb as a defensive piece so that way she doesn't broken kill over and die. After you've got your speed target, the name of the game is getting as much crit damage as you can to increase the amount she shares with teammates. Despite what others may tell you, her crit damage, while important, will almost never make the same amount of difference that speed tuning or fast Bronya can make, with one saving you skill points and the other just multiplying the amount of overall attacks you get. Because keep in mind, even when at level 10, Bronya's crit damage share is only 16% of her personal crit damage, plus the 20% of course. The difference between 200% and 250% crit damage is only 8% more crit damage to your teammates. So crit farming should definitely come second to speed tuning. And also, make sure to take effect res substats as well, just so that way Bronya doesn't get put in horny jail. Bronya has a couple playstyles, and though they are more or less the same setups just with the change in speed, it is really important to know what you're doing with those, just like it's important to pick a good light cone for her. So let's talk about those next. The awesome thing about Bronya's light cones is that she can use a ton of them, including free-to-play options. So if you're not financially built like Jeff Bezos, your Bronya can still be top tier. Her signature light cone is called But the Battle Isn't Over, and it's best in slot for its ability to give you back a skill point every 2 ultimates, and also the damage buff after skill. It also gives a 10% energy regen stat at S1, which can help your Bronya ult more consistently. If you don't have it, there's a ton of other light cones that work too though. For example, if you're playing a Sonic build where you make her fast, because she'll be using her basic attack sometimes, you can give her the 3-star meshing cogs at S5 to help her cycle her ultimate faster. S5 Memories of the Past also works about the same, but it gives her break effect and has higher base stats. If you're playing a speed tuning build, or if you don't have either of those 2 light cones leveled, some other options are Snap the Neck, Weave the Clouds for random effects, Dance 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 for the action forward, and the free-to-play Past and Future for damage bonus on the next character. And Planetary Rendezvous can also be good with a wind DPS. For reference, I'm playing Past and Future on my free-to-play account, but I'm saving up my shop currency for her light cone since it's really good value on her. You might have noticed that with her signature light cone, she gets 1 skill point every 2 ultimates. Well, her E1 is the missing puzzle piece for that, so let's talk about Eidolons next. The nice thing about Bronya's Eidolons is that they're front-loaded, where the first two are exceptionally good. The not-so-nice thing is that the game's gonna keep giving you Yenshing. What makes E1 a game-changer for Bronya is that it gives you a 50% chance of getting a skill point back when you use her skill. It does have a 1-turn cooldown, so it's not actually once every 2 turns. In theory, you're getting a skill point back once every 3 to 4 skills, unless you're using a basic attack in her downturn. But with that said, it's massively helpful for increasing your DPS's damage. Combined with S1 of her Light Cone, she gives herself a decent amount of skill points back and becomes much easier to play. Her second Eidolon is called It's another game changer for Bronya since it allows you to speed tune in a different way. It gives the skilled ally 30% speed after taking action, letting you run Bronya faster and your DPS slower, which in theory, if you run a slower DPS, then that's more substats to crit, so that's pretty cool. Keep in mind that for most characters, 30% speed is around 30 speed added total, so you'll likely want to run Bronya at around 155 speed if you're speed tuning your main DPS. Super solid Eidolon, it just means that you have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what you're doing with speed tuning. E3 is going to be an ultimate and talent level up, and E4 changes your Bronya into Cocolia Boss Bronya, where she can do a follow-up attack after a friendly base attack as long as the enemy is weak to wind. It can be triggered once per Bronya turn, and it's honestly just an okay damage upgrade, but it does give a bit more energy, which is super nice and comfortable. E5 is the skill and basic attack level up, and E6 is the cake on the icing, which is extending her 1-turn buff from her skill to 2 turns. It essentially makes you not have to skill every single turn and still keep the buff, or run 2 DPS and alternate the buffs on them, or run her with follow-up characters that would usually not get the bonus to their follow-up because it would happen after their turn. Insanely powerful Eidolon that you will probably never get. There's no choice between Eidolons and Light Cones here, but what I will say is that if we ever get a 5-star selector, I would recommend E1 Bronya if you already have the other units that you want, since she is definitely the strongest standard 5-star, and E1 and 2 make a massive difference to how easy she is to play. I would also highly recommend getting her S1 Light Cone from the shop if given the chance.